We are gathered here today to talk about Misfits number 12. Yes, the next Misfits event has been announced, and it's pretty interesting. The influencer boxing scene has definitely been a little quiet over the last few months, but we're back at it with another Misfits event to start off the new year. And I say this card is interesting for a couple different reasons, but before we get into that, I wanted to start off with two fights specifically on this card that I'm really looking forward to. And that's the Small Spartan J versus Fox the G fight, and the Ashley Roxu versus OJ Rose fight. I have spoken very highly of Ashley Roxu in the past. I think he is great for the scene. He is dedicated to the sport, and he makes the most out of every opportunity that is given to him. It feels like every fight he has, he's gaining more and more popularity. He's becoming more familiar with the fans. It all started to kind of rise after his win over King Kenny. I've definitely seen the improvement for him over his last few fights. I do think that this is a big step up in competition, especially from his last fight against Halal Ham. But he also has a significant weight advantage in this fight. Hopefully, there aren't too many problems with him cutting down to this weight. I believe it's at 175 pounds. I really don't want to see either of these guys lose because I'm also becoming more and more of a fan of OJ Rose. He was the underdog in his last fight against Gabriel Silva, and while he did lose that fight, I think most people watching that one came away feeling impressed by OJ Rose's performance. He made that fight a lot closer than a lot of people were giving him credit for. Another guy who has made the most out of the opportunities given to him. He is dedicated to this sport as well. He has a ton of skill. One of the more skilled guys in this entire scene. I think he has huge potential and is going to be a future star. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I'm really glad we're getting it on Misfits 12. And then Fox the G, someone who has been involved in this scene for a long time now. If you aren't familiar, he makes a lot of videos about the influencer boxing scene. He has been teasing a debut fight on Misfits for a long time now, and here it finally is. People have been anticipating his debut for a while, and there are definitely some high expectations for his first fight, on Misfits at least. I know he's been doing some amateur fights on the side up to this point, but this is his Misfits debut. And for someone like Fox the G, someone who Misfits wants to build up as a future potential star, I expected him to take a pretty easy opponent for his first fight, to go out there, showcase his skills a little bit, and pretty much have an easy win. But I'll tell you, he is not taking an easy opponent for his Misfits debut, because I was very impressed with Small Spartan J's last performance, his win against Puli Arif. He is a little guy. Fox is going to be a lot taller in there and probably is the naturally bigger guy. But Spartan J is aggressive, he moves forward, and he puts a lot into his shots. He has power for someone that small. I do think Fox the G is going to have problems with that aggression. I don't know if he's ready for it, but I haven't really seen him fight at the end of the day. I think there's a lot of questions to be answered here, and I can't wait to see it. This is a great fight. I also wanted to mention the L. Brook versus AJ Bunker rematch. If you've kept up with the scene, you have seen both of them fight in the past, kind of known on Misfits at this point. I think it's going to be a fun fight to watch. Both are going to come out aggressive, I think. I think this one's going to be a slugfest. I think it's a cool fight to have on the card for a Misfits women's title. So, not mad about this fight being made. But then here's where I think this card has a little bit of a problem. If you've seen my Misfits card breakdowns in the past, there's almost always new faces being added to the scene. It feels like every time there's a new card, we get a lot new faces that we haven't seen before. And I'm usually very supportive of that because you do need to continue to grow the roster if you want to expand Misfits. It's something that is necessary. The scene isn't big enough at this point. We need to see new fighters. I understand that. But I think it's getting to a point where Misfits is becoming a little too lenient on who they let fight on their big stage. A lot of these guys have very small audiences, and that's not necessarily the problem here. But a lot of these influencers who don't really even make videos, who are being given these huge opportunities to fight on Misfits, aren't really even promoting their fights at all. I really don't understand how a lot of these fighters are not making the most out of these opportunities. Because time and time again, I feel like we're seeing new faces who aren't known, who aren't promoting their fights, and aren't dedicating the proper time to the sport of boxing. It's very confusing to me. I do think that's a problem on this card, but it's not a problem that is exclusive to this card. It has been an increasing problem over the last few cards, aside from the Prime card. I don't know if it's just me who doesn't know a lot of the fighters on Misfits 12, but as of now, I really don't have enough information on a lot of these guys to give a proper breakdown of their fights. And like I said, it's not always the biggest problem if you're an unknown fighter being given an opportunity, if you're willing to promote your fight and make the most of this opportunity. And that is what I'd like to see from a lot of the people fighting on Misfits 12. It's just a few weeks away now. We aren't seeing too much coverage of it. There isn't much promotion. And I get it's not the biggest card in the world. There aren't the biggest names. But I think they could still do a better job of getting it out there. Not everybody. Some guys are doing their part. They're promoting their fights. Kind of specifically the guys I already mentioned. But when we get closer to the fight, I'm going to come out with a prediction video. And by then, I'm going to look into each and every one of these fighters. I'm going to have a much better idea of what they're about, how skilled they are, who I think's going to win. But for now, I just wanted to come out here and go over my quick thoughts for the card. And also, for the main event featuring HS Tiki Taki, I think that's his name, I do wish we got a little bit of a bigger fight. I do think finding a solid main event helps a ton when talking about these smaller cards. I saw Tiki Taki has been blowing up a lot recently, especially from the recent street fight he had with a streamer, where he went out there and whooped him pretty much, and everyone from there said, we want to see him fight on Misfits, and here it is. So I get that. I kind of see where they're coming from, but overall, main event, I'd like to see a little bit more established fighters for main events. But that's about it. That's all I have for today. There's a few fights I'm really looking forward to. There's a few fights that I may be sleeping on. Let me know. There's a lot of questions up in the air about this card, but we will get our answers soon enough. Subscribe for more boxing content and updates. The support is much appreciated. Thank you for watching. Peace.